So, speaking of what the future looks like, our third topic today actually concerns you, Paul, because you just published a LinkedIn post that contains observations on where we're headed with AI. And it's really blown up thanks to kind of its unique breakdown of the current AI landscape and what that means for the future. So, in the post, you wrote, quote, I've done more than 60 AI presentations this year, had dozens of conversations with enterprise, venture capital, and educational leaders and fielded hundreds of questions about AI from audiences. Based on those experiences, here are some observations about where we are and where we're going. So, my first question is, where are we and where are we going? Can you break that down for us?
So I don't know if people find this interesting or not, but the context around this post, because some people like maybe they think I wrote this with like ChatGPT or something. Again, I don't use AI writing tools to write anything for me. So this was all me. And I had gotten back from Germany at midnight Friday, as I mentioned to start. So I'm like jet lagged and we had just got new cats and one of my cats had to go to the vet. And so I'm Saturday morning at 9 a.m. sitting, waiting. It ended up being an 11-hour wait. It was kind of a crazy day, but I'm sitting in my car with only my phone. On my computer, I have nothing. And I was like, I'm thinking about the trip to Germany and what just happened and like the conversations I was having with some major brand at this event. And I was like, what do I like have to say about this? Like, what do I actually have I learned? And I started actually, instead of writing about the Germany thing, I started reflecting on the entire year and all of these conversations I've had with just some amazing people, amazing leaders, amazing companies, but educational leaders, venture capital firms, enterprise, like all these different organizations we've talked to, small businesses, large businesses. And I just started kind of writing like, what do I think is happening right now? Like, what is the state of all of this? And so I literally wrote this thing on my phone. And I was like, I guess I'll just publish this. I don't know. And so I put it on LinkedIn and that was it. Like, it was not some crazy thing. I've been working on this forever. It was just sort of spur of the moment. I had nothing to do because I was just sitting with my cat waiting, 10 hours to see the veterinarian. So I kind of summarized into 3 points. So the first was the vast majority of organizations are just getting started. Even the organizations, and this is critical, even the organizations that have been doing AI for the last 10 to 20 years. Think of like a Google. They have been doing AI for 25 years. Literally, they just turned 25. So the companies that have been using machine learning for the last decade or more to do predictions, recommendations, build personalization, even those companies that were on the frontier were not prepared for generative AI and the transformative impact that it's having across every industry. So that was like the first observation is even these companies that people think are the leaders in this space were caught flat-footed when it came to generative AI. And most of them that I talked to are still playing catch up. Like they still haven't solved for exactly what to do about this. So that led to the second thing. Most organizations, including some of the largest enterprises in the world, are still thinking about AI as a technology challenge and opportunity. They are not addressing or even considering the significant near-term need for comprehensive change management throughout the organization. So again, they're coming to us saying, which tool do we get? Which use case do we solve for? And I'm coming back and saying, have you thought about the impact of this on your organization? Like again, I'll show that Microsoft 365 Copilot video when I do talks, like the minute and a half demo of what Copilot's going to be and how it's going to be infused into Docs and or Microsoft Word and Excel and Teams and all these areas. Like, we're just all of a sudden everybody's got AI: the accountants, the lawyers, the HR professionals. And I'm like, are you even thinking about that? And the answer is no, they're not. Like, they don't really grasp that it's just like this completely disruptive technology, like general purpose technology across their entire organization. It's not just use cases in tech, in marketing and sales and service. So that leads to the third thing, which is there's a lack of urgency to solve for this wider impact. And so I asked myself, like, why? Like, why aren't people thinking about this at a higher level than just tech and use cases? Um, what I've arrived at is like the leadership at most of these organizations don't have a baseline understanding of what AI really is and the effects that it's going to have across workforce and operations and tech stacks and culture and products and services and their ability to compete. So it always comes back to the education and training. There's a lack of like baseline understanding. And this is what I see over and over again, because the talk I do most times, the keynote is some variation of an intro to AI. Like, it's like, what is it? What is language? What is vision? Where are the use cases going to live? What does this mean to your organization, to your industry, to your people? Like, it is not deep in the weeds. Like, it's just high level. And people just, like, they don't even know what to say after the talk. Like,
Mm,
they'll come up to me like, I had no idea. Like, this is, we had been talking about AI. We've been thinking about it. We were doing some of it. I've talked with people who have AI centers for excellence, like in their companies, like big companies that weren't thinking about the implications, like in this sense, like this
mm.
broad business implication. And so, like, that to me is the biggest thing is like, you go do this talk to a room of 500 people and they're just staring at it like, "What in the world?" And then they'll come up to me and say these things like, "I had no idea, like, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen." And to you and me and other people who live in our bubble, it's like, "Really? Like, is it?"
Mm.
Like, I feel like I should stop doing this talk and I should move on to the next talk. And then I realized, like, no, people still need this, like, future of business intro level talk because that's where the majority of the market still is.
Now, I know you unpacked that quite a bit, but I want to dwell for a minute on it still. This idea that the vast majority of companies are just getting started with AI, because I talk to so many people who still find it totally shocking, even when we're talking because their company needs help getting started with
Yeah.
AI. So often I think anyone in the audience or that has followed our work sometimes thinks their company is very, very far behind and everyone else is ahead. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think there's a disconnect in people's minds. They say, I hear so much about AI. I see all these AI influencers giving advice. I hear everyone giving talks about it, publishing articles about it at these companies. Of course, they have to be far ahead, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's critical because if, like, I'll often ask up front, who's tried ChatGPT? It seems like such an obvious thing. We ask it on our Intro to AI for Marketers free class that I do every few weeks on Zoom, and we've asked it in a survey, and it's like 95% of people have used ChatGPT. You ask that same question in a room of CEOs or HR professionals or accounting professionals, you get like 5 people raising their hand. So, yes, there, like, we have what, 55,000 subscribers at the institute right now. So
Mm,
you broadly ask all of those people, it's going to be 90% plus, and they all think that they're behind everybody else. But you ask non, like, at the frontier level marketers about this stuff, like business executives, C-suite people, maybe they've tried it, like, but they very rarely do you find the people who are experimenting with it or infusing it into their workflow daily. And so I do think that there is within the world that we live in every day this assumption you're just behind everybody else, that your company's behind because you don't have an AI council or you don't have generative AI policies or you haven't formally figured out pilot use cases or you haven't found a new AI tech and you think you're just like way behind.
mm,
That is not the case. And it is like, I've talked with a lot of software companies, and you would think SaaS companies would be the first in line that would be figuring this out. They're
mm,
not. Like, there are a lot of SaaS companies that are behind. There are a lot of venture funded companies that are behind. So when you get into like healthcare and financial services, manufacturing, like, that, everybody is at the starting. And I think it's so important because the opportunity is so significant if you figure this out in your industry. And I think the other thing we always talk about is I don't care if you're the intern or a marketing manager or an HR manager or a CMO, like, it doesn't matter what your role is. Every organization needs people who go and solve for this and then bring that knowledge back to everybody else.
mm,
And so I think from a career perspective, it's such an exciting time when you realize how important this topic is to the future of business and that there are very few people capable of connecting the dots in organizations, and that you can be one of those people. That's a really exciting thing to know. And so that, I think, was like, I kind of tried to end that post on a very positive note, which is like, people who are curious and seek this broad knowledge and understanding will be able to connect the dots in their companies and their industries to build smarter companies. And then
mm.
in the process, like, take advantage of these kind of unparalleled opportunities we have. And like, I mean, there was some negative comments on there. It's like, fine, I like, cool. Like, I get that some people don't agree with that premise, but I believe quite deeply in it. Every indicator we look at appears to agree with this is massively disruptive. people who compare it to the metaverse or blockchain, that's just a joke. Like they're not the same thing. So I think we're entering a phase where it's really hard to dispute that AI is going to transform every aspect of business and every knowledge worker's profession.
Mm,
And the sooner we kind of accept that and figure out what to do about it, the better off you are all going to be individually, and we are going to be collectively, like as a society. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad the post resonated with people and got people talking, whether they agree or disagree. Like, good, like let's have conversations, let's figure it out. But that goes back to the importance of that Ethan Malik topic we started with: is we need more data, like we need more proof of this
mm.
working. We need more people sharing what they're doing and what they're seeing.
That's awesome. So before we dive into rapid fire, can you just really quickly talk to us about the change management component of what you posted? You said that most leaders aren't thinking about it. They're just thinking about the technology and what tool to use. Like, what should they be thinking about when it comes to change management?
Yeah, I mean, like simply, let's say you get an AI writing tool. So great, you start there. Well, everybody in your organization writes. So you have marketing, sales, service, HR, finance, legal, ops, everybody writes emails, proposals, articles, whatever it is, job offers, job descriptions. Um, so if you go get a writing tool, awesome, you have the tool. What are they supposed to do with it? Like, how does it change their workflow? How does it change their job description? How does it change how they train and educate the next generation of talent? Um, does it affect your overall tech stack? Do you need 5 of the other tools that you had that you're paying $10,000 a month for if this tool replaces those? Like, it's so transformational across every aspect that you can't just get a tool and start a pilot project and then say, "Okay, good, we did AI." No, you
Mm,
didn't. Like, you just threw a grenade into it. Like, now nobody knows what their job is, and they're afraid this thing's gonna do their job for them, and they have no training of how to use it properly, and so that, like, change management with any technology is critical, but with a general purpose technology that can be used by anyone in the organization and affects what they do and how they do it, there's a lot of other work that comes with doing that the right way. So that's the change management, is like realizing this changes everything, and you have to plan for that. You have to help your team along in that process.